Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got this question about how to launch a side project without jeopardizing my current job, and I thought this was a pretty good question, especially since I'm going to be working on an entrepreneurial course, which is basically going to show you how to do this. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about this because I did this actually, right? When I was first starting out and I was working on Pluralsight and Simple Programmer, I was working at a regular job and at the same time. So anyway, this question says, "Hi John, I have a question for you and I would love to get some feedback. I am working my way through soft skills and I'm totally convinced that I should be writing a blog, and I already have my first few posts written. I'm currently working as a PHP developer in a 100% remote position, which I love. However, I have always dreamed of starting my own SaaS business, and I have several failures behind me, along with an almost ready MVP out of my next product. Now, the tricky part. I don't do social media, but I was planning on using LinkedIn as my one exception and advertising my blog posts there when they appear weekly. This was working fine until my boss sent me a friend request. Now I have several fears related to him reading my blog, but I am able to get over these. My real problem is that I'm hoping to generate traffic to the blog and then advertise my other products to that traffic in the future. With my boss on there, I'm afraid that he would notice this and think that I am doing this side project on company time. I am not, of course. I'm also afraid that I might create a less concrete problem where I just have points against me in his mind. Note that we are a very small company, about 12 employees. 4 of us are developers, including the boss himself. In fact, the business is a SaaS business that he started on his own. I guess my main question is, how do I launch a side project in a way that doesn't jeopardize my current position? And I don't know if this is worth one of your blog posts, but if so, please remove the details and keep it anonymous for me. Thanks, Jeff. So, yeah, I think this is fairly anonymous. I won't give your phone number, even though you've provided it. But anyway, Jeff. So this is a good question, right? I was in a very similar situation. I was actually working remotely for a company, and and if you followed ENTREPROGRAMMERS, right? If you've been following the ENTREPROGRAMMERS podcast, Josh Earl, who's one of the ENTREPROGRAMMERS, he was in this situation, right? He was basically doing entrepreneurial stuff. In fact, on ENTREPROGRAMMERS podcast, while working for the company that I actually had left, and a bunch of us have left that company to become entrepreneurs. So this is tricky because there's a few things here, right? I mean, obviously, like you said, you don't want your boss to think you're using company time, especially when you're working remotely, to work on the side project. That's number one, right? And then also, you don't want to jeopardize your career or your current job because your boss is going to be thinking, well, what is this guy doing? Is he going to leave? Is he really loyal to the company? Whatnot. So, I don't think there's a good way around this. Like, you're going to face this risk. Like, that is part of the risk of becoming an entrepreneur. Everything in the entrepreneurial world is extremely risky. It always is. Like, that's why there's huge benefits for success. So you can't get around that. But let's talk about some of the things that you can sort of mitigate here. So first of all, the company time thing. In my opinion, right, I mean, if you're being trusted to work remotely, you're being trusted to work remotely. So I wouldn't be too worried about this. I don't believe that you should tell your boss, hey, I'm working on these side projects, because that might not be taken very well, right? I'd rather ask forgiveness than ask permission. That's sort of that's sort of how I operate. I don't think it's really even any of this business if you're getting your work done. So the best thing that you can do to mitigate a problem there is to make sure that you're getting the work done for the company, that you're conscientiously working. When I worked from home and I was working on my side stuff, I mean, I was working 9 to 5 on the regular job. I didn't put in more than 40 hours because that's the rest of the time belongs to me. And I was very clear on that, and that's something I'd advise as well. But I was there 9 to 5, and I was working on my stuff at night, right? And I was, it might seem hard to believe, but honestly, because I felt like the only way I could do this is if I'm doing a good job at my current job and really giving my full effort. So I definitely recommend that you do that you make sure that you're doing that, and then that's what's going to matter the most, right? And if your boss is smart, that's what he's going to care about. And I did this video on do companies not hire entrepreneurs and whatnot, and I talked about picking the right company and that smart companies will pick employees that they know are not going to be around forever. They're only going to have them for a few years at the most. In fact, someone commented and said that they read this book about how Google hires. I don't remember the name of the book. Maybe we can find that book because it's in the comment on that video. But anyway, he was talking about the idea that Google hires people essentially that are self-starters that they know are not going to be there for a long time, and they do that on purpose. And I think, being an entrepreneur, having that mindset, having that self-starting motivation that you have, that's an asset to your company that you're working for, or whoever you're working for, even though they might not have you for a long period of time, because you're going to be applying that same, as long as you're applying that to the company as well. So I think that, that's going to sort of mitigate that situation. I mean, your boss is still maybe going to have a problem with that, but I don't know. I mean, personally, you're just going to have to decide what you're going to do on the risk as far as this. What's the worst that's going to happen if your boss sees that you're selling products and says and thinks that you're doing this on company time? Like, you're going to have a discussion, probably, right? I don't want to get you into any kind of legal trouble, so I'm not a lawyer, so this isn't legal advice, but you'll have to decide, what is your employment agreement? Do you have like a non-compete? Do you have something that says that the work that you're doing belongs to your company? I mean, there's some really nasty employment contracts. Doesn't sound like, this small company, your boss is a developer, it sounds like a cool guy. I don't think there's going to be an issue, but you know better than I do. So I think that's the key thing, though, is if he's getting his worth out of you, then it's not gonna matter. When people start to get pissed off is when you're not pulling your share and you're billing the company for that time and you're doing something else during that time. That, being someone who hires people myself, that's going to piss me off. But if someone is like billing their hours and they're doing the work during their hours and they're reporting it, right? Like, that's the other thing is I talked about doing weekly reports, especially in my soft skills book. Obviously, you've already got this book, but that's going to show what you're doing. So then, let's see. So then let's talk about the other aspect of this, which was, what was this? Basically, like, what's going to happen, if your boss, finds out you're selling products, you're being an entrepreneur on the side. Again, I think we've actually pretty much already covered this, but that's the risk. And you gotta weigh that out, because yes, it's probably going to hurt you to some degree, but at the same time, I think a lot of companies, you're becoming more valuable, right? Because you have more options. So there's, some companies might get scared and then say, you got to stop doing this, or they might try and replace you because they think that you're going to be gone. But I think most companies are going to be hoping that you don't leave and wanting to keep you around as long as possible, especially if you're doing a good job. If you're doing a poor job and you're sort of sandbagging this job, or you're just doing the minimum to skate by while you're trying to grow your side business, that's a different story, and you'll have to take that risk. And it might be worth taking that risk. I've known some entrepreneurs that have done that. They have had a kind of cush corporate job working remotely, and they've basically done the minimum to get by and collect their paycheck while they're building their business. And they did what they're paid to do. I personally don't like that, but I can't judge it. That's fine. That's totally fine. I think, I couldn't do it myself. I would have to give my all to whoever I'm working for, and then also give my all to my business on the side in order to feel good about myself, to be able to, feel like I did good work, because and sleep well at night. But it's up to you. You got to make these choices. These are choices where, again, I can't judge you. You have to decide on your own. But I think it's definitely possible, and I know it's possible because I did this on the side, and you're just going to have to face the reaction. But so far, the entrepreneurs I've talked to, and the examples that I've seen in my own career as well, it hasn't been a problem, right, or a huge problem, as long as the work's getting done. So yeah, your boss is probably going to figure out that you're an entrepreneur. It's been funny with Josh, and as we've been doing the ENTREPROGRAMMERS podcast, because it's like we even had our former boss on the ENTREPROGRAMMERS. There was this episode where we had him on, and we talked to him, and we asked him, what did it feel like when we're like all becoming entrepreneurs and Josh is doing this stuff on the side, and and it's a little bit weird, right? Because he's still working at the company. But I wanted to kind of get that out, and get that get that out there so we could talk about this and get some real perspective on this. So check out that episode if you haven't, with my boss Larry Silverman from Trackabout. I might as well say since it's in the episode. But anyway, that would give you some interesting perspective. And if you watch some of the earlier episodes of Entrepreneurgrammers before Josh left Trackabout and before he really went full-time entrepreneur, and now he's working with me as a simple programmer. But if you look at those, you can kind of see what was happening in some of the, I guess we didn't really talk about, because we didn't want to talk about work stuff and that whole issue, but behind the scenes we were having these chats. Like, he had this countdown timer of days till he quit his job, and we were always wondering, he was worried about, is his boss gonna find out he's doing this stuff, and what is he going to think about it, and is he going to lose his job, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, don't mean to belabor the point, but you can definitely do it, but there is going to be a risk involved. I would not ask for permission up front, because to me it doesn't seem like, first of all, it's not really the company's business if you're doing your work. If you're not, then what can I say? I mean, obviously, that's only gonna last for so long when you're not actually accomplishing things for the company. And like I said, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. But just know that the axe may drop, and have a plan, right? That's the other thing is, know that you may get cut, and then what are you going to do? Are you going to go full-time into your side business now, or are you going to find another job and keep running the side business? You got to have this planned out, and you got to be lowering your expenses. You got to be planning for the worst. That's what I would do in this situation, and make sure that if something does happen, that you are prepared. So yeah, but I would do this. I would not shy away from this. I would be working on the side business, because ultimately I think that you work for someone else as an apprentice, and then you eventually go out on your own. That's just my philosophy in life. You don't have to subscribe to it, but anyway, hopefully that helps you, Jeff. Wish you the best. I know there's a lot of you out there that want to do side projects and keep your current job, which is what I definitely recommend. I talk about it in soft skills, and hopefully I'll be able to put out some material that will help you to be able to do that, how to build a blog and make money and then be successful. Maybe even you just want to generate a few $1,000s a month of side income. I'm going to show you how to do that when I launch this entrepreneurial course. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.